Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben. This is our 6th episode in the series. I hope you're all enjoying them so far. Thanks for all those that have returned if you've subscribed to the page. And if you're a new listener, feel free to check back through the other episodes to find out what you've missed. And also you'll be able to find out all about Gardening with Ben and how it all started. So in the 6th episode, we're going to be talking about the jobs what need doing in the garden and the allotment during November. As it's getting colder, there's not much growing, but it's about preparing the ground ready for next year and making it the best you can. So we're going to give you some handy hints and tips for November on the jobs that need doing in the garden now. So the way this episode is going to work is that we're going to split it up into 3 sections. We're going to be talking about the jobs which need doing in the flower garden, in the vegetable patch, and in the fruit garden as well, as those are the 3 main areas that need looking into. As not all of you will have got allotments, some of you have just got gardens, but like me, I've got an allotment and I grow flowers, fruit and vegetables all on the plot as well. So it's good to know what jobs need doing, and also it's good for me to know as well what jobs need doing, as I obviously want to keep on top of the allotment and get it all prepared, ready for next year, so that next year's crops will be even better and the flowers hopefully will look fantastic. So we'll be going through them 3 sections. In tomorrow's episode, we'll be talking about what you can sow this month and what you can plant this month, as you wouldn't think so with the cold weather what's approaching, but you can actually still sow seeds now and still plant plants as well. So we'll be talking about that in tomorrow's episode, so make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with tomorrow's episode and get notified when it comes on. The episodes usually get launched at 7 o'clock in the morning, so it's an ideal time to listen to them on the way to work, or while you're driving to work, or while you're just having a brew, or even if you're on the allotment, you can tune in and listen to my blogs and get my tips and advice down there. So let's stop talking about tomorrow's episode and get on with today's. Let's start today's Gardening with Ben podcast. So first we're going to talk about some of the jobs what need doing in the vegetable garden first, as on an allotment you still need to be doing stuff in the vegetable garden ready for preparing it for next year, for when you start planting out in the springtime. Or if you've still got stuff growing through the winter, obviously you need to look after them. Now in November, it's a good time to be planting your autumn garlic. So you need to prepare the ground and get that all ready by putting fresh organic matter into the ground and adding it to the soil to improve it, to get better crops from your garlic. The reason why you plant your garlic in November is because the cold helps it split and creates the cloves which create the garlic. So it's a good time to plant your garlic in November if possible, rather than leaving it till the beginning of next year. If you're growing brassicas on your plot, like Brussels sprouts, they will need staking up, as the wind could damage the plant. It could blow them over, it could snap them, and you wouldn't want any issues with your Brussels sprout plants, especially if you're growing them for Christmas dinner. Next up is preparing the ground for planting your asparagus crowns. November is a good time to plant your asparagus crowns, as they are dormant at the moment. So if you get them into the ground now, you can be getting them ready for picking, hopefully next year or the year after. With rhubarb crowns, if you're planting rhubarb crowns, you wouldn't pick them in the first year, you let them settle in. So the same can go for asparagus crowns as well. You can let them settle in and then pick them the year after. So that is nearly all the jobs what need doing in the vegetable garden. The last one is parsnips. Now parsnips are usually getting ready to be picked round now. They should be of a decent size, But the best time to pick your parsnips is after you've had the first frosts, as this does make your parsnips taste a lot sweeter and tastier. So wait until the frost has got to them and then pull them up after that. But most people, I'm guessing, will be leaving them for Christmas to have with their Christmas dinner. So that is all the tips on the vegetable garden for November. If you haven't heard already, the place where I'm recording these podcasts is an app called Anchor, and it's totally free. They also put your podcasts on multiple platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. Straight away, you can also schedule the time that you want it to go on, which is fantastic. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, so you can record your podcast literally anywhere you want. You can also make money from your podcasts as well, with no minimum listenership whatsoever. So the more times it gets played, the more times you can earn money from it. And there's everything you need to make your podcast all in one place. So if you download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm, you can get started with your free podcasts. So next up, we are going to look at what to do in the fruit garden in November. Now, November is a perfect time to be planting those fruit bushes and fruit trees, as again, the trees and bushes are dormant in November. It's a good time for them to take root and settle into the ground first. So if you're thinking about planting fruit bushes on your allotment or in the garden, plant your fruit bushes this month. That's like your currant bushes. If you're planting raspberry canes, plant them this month. And your blackberry whips, if you're planting them, plant them now. And also, if you're wanting to plant fruit trees, plant them in the ground now to get because of all the rainfall what's falling during the winter months, it'll help them get that rainwater, get the roots in and get them settled into the ground. So now is a perfect time to be planting fruit if you're deciding to do that. If you've got any strawberry plants in the garden, they'll have sent out some runners, what are like on a little root, and it's another plant attached to it. You can stick them into the soil and they'll take root and grow, or if they've already got the roots on, you can snip them off the runner and plant them where you want them to be growing. Also, if they've got any dead leaves on the strawberry plants, cut them off, cut off any flowers, as the flowers will not get any fruit on at this time of year. You might think, oh, they're flowering, I might get some fruit. They won't fruit, so cut off any flowers as well, as they're taking all the nutrients away from the plant, which the plant needs through these winter months. So trim them back, make them look fresh, ready for next year. Now again, with raspberry canes, if you're growing raspberry canes, if you're growing autumn variety, these can be pruned to the ground. If you're growing summer variety, you need to prune back the ones which have had the raspberries on that year. Any new growth, you leave that because they're the ones that are going to fruit next year. So you don't want to be cutting down the wrong raspberry canes. If you've got any netting over your fruit bushes or your trees or anything like that, take all that off during the winter months, as you won't be having any fruit on the bushes or the trees. So take off all your netting, and then that will encourage the birds to eat any insects what may be nesting in them over the winter months to keep warm. It'll encourage the birds to eat all them bugs, so then hopefully they won't appear next year. If you're growing an apple tree or a pear tree, this is the ideal time to be pruning them, as like I said, they've gone dormant this month. So prune them back, shape them out, cut off any branches that shouldn't be growing and get them pruned. There's always plenty of tips online about how to prune fruit trees, so just look on YouTube and it'll explain how to do it all. But do not prune plum trees or cherry trees this month. Usually you do them in the springtime. So that is all your tips For the fruit garden for November, I hope you found them useful. So last but not least, we're going to look at what needs to be done in the flower garden. Like I said, there's not much to be done this month, so it's only going to be a short little list of what needs to be done in the flower garden. If you're growing dahlias or begonias or gladiolus, the ideal thing to do with them is to dig up the bulbs and the tubers what are growing and store them somewhere dry, out of the ground, in a shed or something, somewhere dry over the winter months, as the cold and the frost can kill them off. But if you live in a warmer area, they should be okay to be left in the ground. But the ideal thing to do is to dig them up and keep them somewhere dry and replant them next year when it's warmer. If you're wanting to make any holly wreaths or Christmas decorations out of your holly and the berries, make sure you prune them now and store them somewhere cold and in a bucket of water or something, as obviously the birds are looking for all the berries at this time of year. So if you're wanting to save some for some decorations, cut them off and save them somewhere cold and in a bucket of water, ready for Christmas, so that the birds don't eat them all. But obviously leave some for the birds, as the birds will need the berries as well. So that's a little tip about holly decorations. If you're growing any rose bushes, make sure you get up any leaves what have dropped from the rose bushes, especially if they've got black spot, as obviously you're wanting to prevent that black spot from coming back. So make sure you get rid of those leaves and get them out of the area of the roses so that the disease does not come back next year. So yeah, that has been the tips on the flower garden. So I hope you've enjoyed this short little episode on what jobs need to be done in the flower garden, the vegetable garden and the fruit garden in November. Make sure you come back later on in the month, as we will still be giving tips of other stuff what can be done in the garden at this time of the year. So tomorrow's episode will be about what we can still plant in November, as like I said, November you can still plant stuff this month ready for next year. So come back tomorrow and find out what can be planted. So make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with new podcasts what come on, and hopefully they will continue to be daily while ever we can find topics to talk about, as gardening is my passion and I enjoy sharing my tips and advice with you all. So if you're not following me on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, feel free to give me a follow. They're all Gardening with Ben. It's great to see you join me, and thanks for listening, and remember, keep gardening.